All right, guys, welcome back to Marlins 9. As always, I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger, and today I'm joined on the podcast with Troy Johnston from the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. Troy, thanks for coming on.
Of course, thanks for having me. Anytime I can get onto another Marlins or Marlins minor league podcast, I'll always accept.
Fellow podcaster yourself as well. You got with Scott Kornberg going on down there, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's been an interesting journey. Trying to get into the podcasting realm, the marketing, trying to do everything like that. But we have such an awesome team in Jacksonville that they do some amazing work for us, and we couldn't do it without them.
So both of us kind of from the Northwest. It's funny, like you're from Washington, played college baseball for Gonzaga. I'm from Oregon. Now I'm stationed with the Army out in North Carolina, so kind of far away from our roots. But growing up, for you, was it always baseball? Was it always like that was the main sport? Or were there other sports where did you have other interests in the sporting world, so to speak?
So if I'm being honest, my father and my mother would probably tell everybody that I'm actually probably a better golfer than I am a baseball player. I played every single sport I possibly could under the sun when I was a kid. I played, I was one of the people where, yeah, I did baseball year round because it was fun. And there was a lot of opportunities for that in the Northwest with all the indoor facilities and the coaching. But I played every sport. I think in junior high, there was a time I went from, let's see, it was football in the fall, wrestling, or no, sorry, football in the fall, wrestling in kind of the midwinter, and then you'd play basketball, and then you'd run track. And then after that, in the summers, I would actually play competitive golf and baseball. And so I would miss practices during the season all the time because I would be playing other sports. But as an athlete myself and everybody that I've talked to, being a multi-sport athlete not only makes you a better, singular athlete at the sport that you've chosen, but it broadens what you can do with your mind, with your body. It's just like in football when you're playing safety or cornerback and you have to make a drop when you're covering a receiver. It's the same kind of movements on if you're, tracking down a fly ball. In golf, I think the swings are extremely similar, even though some may say it messes up their baseball swing, it messes up their golf swing, whatever it is. I think the actual swings are very similar. I think if you put Shohei Ohtani's baseball swing, you put a golf club in his hand, he's going to be amazing. But it was never just baseball for me. It was all just sports and truly just competing in general.
I think that's a really important thing these days in particular because you have so many various year-round teams, club ball teams, and kids especially will focus on one individual sport and honestly nowadays one individual position with like pitcher only and they're only pitching. And it seems like it could be a detriment to their development overall because you're going to have, in terms of athleticism, like you said, you're developing that athleticism with football, with basketball. I mean, some of the best MLB players we see, they can play football. They did play football. They played basketball growing up. So it's really crucial for their development. And that's great to see from somebody that succeeded and is now a professional baseball player, that kids watching this or thinking about playing other sports, they can know that it benefits them. It doesn't hinder them. So you played multiple sports growing up. You go to Gonzaga. Now, I assume like Gonzaga, it's a family ties. You're from Washington. Were you a Gonzaga fan, or was that just the best fit for you athletically?
So I'll kind of start at the beginning. When I was a freshman in high school, I got my very first college offer. It was from the University of Washington. They offered me something crazy like 80%. And I was a freshman. I had no idea. I didn't even
Wow.
think I was going to go play college baseball. I didn't think I wanted to go play baseball past high school. I didn't know what I wanted to do. And so I told them, I was like, hey, you got to let me wait a year. I got to figure out what I want to do. I went to go visit schools. That summer, I had a tournament at Gonzaga with my summer ball team, the Kent Bulldogs. And I was a freshman. I was playing 18U, and it was the only 18U tournament I had. And I ended up hitting probably five doubles, a home run, whatever it was. And Gonzaga's like, hey, we got to offer this guy. And so on the spot, after the tournament, they offered me a scholarship as well. So essentially, at my freshman year, I had two offers. And being from the Northwest, I was always a big Oregon State fan, and I had a um, high school teammate, Logan Ice, actually play for Oregon State, and so I would go there, and he got us tickets. We went to the game. I kind of wanted to be a part of that atmosphere as well. So I started looking at different schools. I went to the University of Oregon. I went to Oregon State, and I wasn't really interested in Washington State as much. I think if I was going to go over on the eastern side of Washington, it was going to be at Gonzaga. But really, what it came down to was University of Washington stopped kind of they dropped their scholarship from me in a sense,
Mm.
which it's everything is a blessing in disguise, right? I don't think they wanted to wait. They wanted to narrow down their 2016, 2017 class. And for me, Gonzaga was my only option. And I didn't panic at all, but I kind of knew where I wanted to go even before anything else because it's funny, my grandmother, Mary Kay, and my grandfather, Mike, actually live 4 blocks from Gonzaga's campus. And so I
Oh,
actually grew
wow.
up in Spokane a lot of the summers going to Gonzaga. We've looked at the field, we've been on campus almost my whole life. And so when I stepped on campus, it just felt like home and it felt right. And the people there are unbelievable. Coach Mactoff giving me a shot, Brandon Harmon doing a lot of the recruiting process of it, Winston, and of course, Danny Evans, who's no longer with us. But they did a fantastic job of creating a person of who I am now and giving me an opportunity to grow in that. And that's really what I saw. I didn't want to go to a school where there was 500 kids in a classroom in a lecture hall and you're just taking notes and listening. All of my classes were 20, 15, 30 kids, and then just me. And so that was really, really good for my learning environment because, like I said, even at a high school and even when I went to college, I didn't think pro ball was an option for me until my junior year of college, my sophomore, one of the two. And being at Gonzaga, I wanted to get a degree, a good degree, and so I can kind of start my life and play baseball and have fun with it. It ended up, of course, me being drafted by the Marlins, but being at Gonzaga just felt right. It felt like home. I made some great connections. I still talk to some of the people that I played with. A lot of the people that I went to school with are doing awesome things now. Um, there's one in particular I like bringing up, Gonzaga. His name's Daniel Mack. I don't know if you've ever seen him, but he was in my freshman class, and we had a bunch of classes together. And now he has this big YouTube channel, and he does all these things where he's the guy that goes up to your car and asks, "What do you do for a living?"
Oh,
And
yeah.
he just,
Yeah.
yep, and he just found his niche, and I thought that was so cool. He's been an inspiration to me. He probably has no idea. He probably doesn't remember me much, but because of course he might be big time now, but he took all of his Gonzaga friends and he's working and doing that. So there's been so many connections and so many things that Gonzaga truly is home.
Wow, that's really cool. Yeah, because I've seen those videos all the time on YouTube, and to have that connection there. Um, so you're at Gonzaga, and you mentioned how, by the time you're a senior in high school or so, you weren't really getting attention to be drafted or pursue a career in professional baseball. It wasn't at the top of your mind. What kind of changed? What led to your development at Gonzaga specifically, where you played yourself into getting drafted by the Marlins?
So my senior year of high school, so my junior summer, I went to the area code games and I got scouted okay there. I really did not do very well. But I had a great experience. It was a lot of fun. But a lot of my players that I played with, guys on the team, like, I'll name drop a couple. On that team, it was Adley Rutschman, Austin
Mm.
Shetton, Michael Tolia, a bunch of guys that, I played with for a long time, just against, with, in the pros, whatever it is. And that gave me the opportunity and kind of the confidence to be like, oh, I could make this a career. I ended up getting a couple of calls and a bunch of course, questionnaires. I probably got about 13, 14 questionnaires after the area code games, just wanting to know a little bit more about me. Um, but ultimately, I took my name off the table. I I thought in my mind, when people called me and they were like, "Hey, what do you want to sign for?" I'm like, I don't have a number. I don't know what I'd sign for. Honestly, it'd have to be something outrageous that I don't think I'm worth right now. So for me, it was more important to go to college and to get a degree and at least have that in my back pocket and then play baseball for fun. But when I got to after my freshman year, I had a pretty good freshman year at Gonzaga. I was an all conference freshman, I think honorable mention all conference, something like that. And I ended up being the opening day three hitter playing left field for Gonzaga. And I ended up, something didn't feel right. And my forearm was hurting. I broke my hamate. I thought my career was over. I'm like, I broke my hamate. I'm not going to get drafted. Nothing's going to happen. And so I had so much fun my junior year. And I was just like, I don't care. I'm going to try to hit home runs. And I ended up doing that. And I ended up, I was third in the country in doubles, second, something like that. And then people started actually talking about, drafting me, and they were like, we really want you. And I started getting a lot of attention, and I started doing interviews or anything like that. And that's when I think it became real to me that I'm like, I have to actually like think about this. This might be something that is in my future, and I have to actually like plan for this. So I would say at that point, my junior year was kind of when it became a reality that, I have the possibility of being a professional baseball player.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Dreams becoming reality. You get drafted, you leave Gonzaga, you start off, I believe it was Batavia, right? In 2019.
Yeah,
And that
pronounced Batavia. Batavia.
Batavia,
The muck,
see, I can't even
yep,
get
the
it
muck
right.
dogs.
The Muck Dogs, yeah. What was the change? Like, change is a big thing. Obviously, being in the military, I've experienced change, and it's interesting how different people handle it because not everybody is going to be like Paul Skeens gets drafted a year later, he's in the majors. Sometimes there's journeys where you're in obviously different cities, different teams, but the first major change obviously was going from Gonzaga to the Marlins organization. What was the biggest thing that stood out for you?
Well, the first thing in my mind was I have to go to the total opposite corner of the country that is really far away. And I was just freshly engaged. So my fiance at the time, which is now my wife, was freaking out like, I don't know what to do. You're leaving me for 3 months. I don't know when I'm going to see you again. I hope I get to see you. You're going all the way across the country. We don't have any money, things like that. Like I was just like, I have no idea what to expect. I've been talking to people. I have no idea what anything looks like. But going to Batavia again, there were some really nice people there, but going from a Division I program such as Gonzaga to a short season team was kind of a shock because it seemed like I took a 3 steps backwards in regards to, quality of life, baseball, anything like that. But I think the shock of it was when I got a text on draft day from one of my friends who was like, "Hey, congratulations, you got drafted." I said, "Who did I get drafted by?" Because the Marlins didn't call me before they drafted me. They called me after. And so I got a bunch of texts before. I was like, oh, cool. I guess I'm going to the Marlins, which at the time I didn't even know they were looking at me. But I have a pretty good relationship with the scout that drafted me, Scott Fairbanks, and he's awesome. I would, whatever he does, I'll follow. And, I don't know if you know this, but the Marlins actually drafted a bunch of Northwest guys this last year in the
Yeah, Noble
2024
Meyer
draft. And so, yeah, well, yep, you got Noble
from last
Meyer,
year.
but yep, but even in 2024, they drafted, I want to say 5 Northwest guys. And so I had to shoot him a text and said, hey, great job, good scouting. Of course, guys like us built in the Northwest are a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, you said you were playing with Adley Rutschman, and man, he was a stud just going back to his days in high school. Like, that guy was playing for Oregon State. But, so in the minors now, it's been multiple seasons. You've developed into I would say, one of the organization's most consistent hitters. I mean, you've hit every level of the minors. And just going year by year, obviously level to level, it's different. I'm sure you got the jump from A ball to triple A. Like there's a big gap there, but you've managed to work your way up to a consistent. You were minor league player of the year. You're playing consistently day in and day out. What has been the key mentally to keep kind of yourself in check where you don't get in a groove for a few weeks and then you're in a slump for a few weeks. It's like you're able to maintain it, and even if your production dips, you manage to get back to what you are. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I wish I could equate it to anything like one saying or something like that, but I think realistically, I want to say my wife that keeps me, because realistically, if it wasn't for her, I would probably be running around like a chicken with my head cut off. I'm a very mental person, and those who play with me kind of understand that. Um, but I would say this year's probably been the hardest of all the years, just mentally trying to get through it every day. Of course, I have the awesome privilege that our manager here in AAA, he plays me every day. I get every opportunity I can. I'm usually in the top of the lineup. I'm playing different positions, and I'm so thankful for that. But just like any baseball player knows, this game's hard, and it's hard mentally, it's hard physically, it's hard to keep in a groove for a long time, and especially you're seeing, some of the best in the game do it, like Judge right now. He's on an incredible tear, um, and trying to keep that mentality throughout a full season, throughout a week, a day, a couple at bats. Sometimes those things change. I think the biggest goal is that you have to be your best version every single day. You have to show up to the field, you have to be ready, you have to prepare yourself, because realistically, if you do not prepare, you will not be successful on the field. And so my preparation and what I do, whether it's watching video, whether it's dissecting my swing, whether it's talking about my swing decisions, I think that's what sets me apart on why you call me the most consistent hitter, is just because I think in my mind I prepare the most, and I know I have a set plan a majority of the time when I go up to the plate to hit. A lot of players just don't have that. They're up there looking for one thing, and if they don't get it, they're kind of screwed. Where I'm pitch to pitch. I'm looking for a cert. I got something in the back pocket in case you throw it. I know where to start, where it needs to start, where it needs to end, where I'm going to hit this ball, that kind of stuff.
Did you have or I guess, do you have a specific philosophy that you kind of adopt when you're up at the plate? Like, are you thinking, I'm going the opposite way, I'm going to try to pull this ball? Like you said, like your approach, what philosophy kind of do you carry with you every at bat?
I do understand that it has not worked out as much this year, but my my plan is that every time I step in the box is to hit a home run,
I love it.
and a single is a miss. So if you hit it, if you smash a single up the middle at 105, 106, 110, whatever it is, that's a miss. Because if you hit it in the air at 105, 110, that's a home run.
Right, right.
So in my mind, your goal up there, because people nowadays, they're getting paid to hit home runs. You're not on Sports Center for hitting three singles. You're on Sports Center to hit home runs, and
Yeah.
essentially, as a baseball player, especially hitting in the middle of the order, that's my job, is to drive runs in and score runs as much as I can. And one of the easiest ways to do that is to hit home runs. So when I'm in there, I am looking for a home run pitch. I'm looking for something to do damage on. And granted, sometimes it's hard to get out of that when you're 0 for 4 and you've struck out twice, and now you're like, yeah, I might need just a hit to salvage the day, to make it 1 for 5 or a walk to get on base. That's when it gets really hard, because you kind of got to give up a little of that power, a little of that free swinginess, and just kind of lock it in for a bit. But especially early in the game, that's what I'm looking to do. I'm looking to do damage, and I would say the only thing is a single is a miss. Nobody's looking to hit singles unless you're, you know, maybe even Xavier Edwards. He doesn't really look to hit singles. He looks to hit doubles, triples, sneak out a home run every once in a while, but he'll slap a ball and just take what they give you.
Just like the last week, he can do it all: home run, double, and triple. So
Yeah,
it works out.
I had to shoot him a text. He's such a fun, enjoyable person to be around, that, I had to shoot him a text, tell him some congratulations.
Yeah, no, that guy can hit. I think he's been a revelation in Miami. Everybody's like, who is this guy? And it's like, if you've been following the team, you've been following the organization, you've seen he's been able to hit in just his whole life. So it's been pretty cool to see him produce for the Marlins. But for you, playing baseball your whole life, and now 5 years, I believe, in the minors, excluding the 2020 season.
Yes, this is my 5th year.
So do you have a favorite baseball memory or moment that kind of stands out to you, whether it's individual accomplishment or a team accomplishment? What's kind of one that stands out to you?
That's a really good question. Um, okay, so for me, I play so many games. I've had
Right.
12, 2,000 at bats, something like that. I've hit walk-offs, I've hit go-ahead home runs, I've hit all of these different things. I've hit for the cycle, whatever it is. But there is a certain time and place that I love in the season when I was in Pensacola, and we would have a Monday off day in April, and our whole team would go to the beach and we'd hang out. And that was our and then after we go to the beach, we'd come back and we'd have a bonfire at the houses and we'd all hang out some more. And then on Tuesday, it's like we're back to work. I think that would be my favorite memory. If I have a I know it's not a baseball memory, but I mean that's
No,
kind of
I
the
understand what you mean.
like
I
I don't
do.
remember the actual games. I don't remember
Right.
different things. Like I would love to
It's the
say
connections.
yes, it's the connections, it's the people that I've been around. It's the off days, the concerts that we go to, the walking around a different city and finding this little shop, this little restaurant, something like that. That's what I remember the most. I guess I don't have like a time where I'm like, I guess the first time I ever got like called up to a different level. Like that was kind of cool. I never knew that that was a thing. I always saw a lot of people like, they get called up, the next year, they never get called up in the middle of the season. But I would say kind of getting a call like, hey, I know it was Chi that called me, I think, and right after I got drafted, that I was going to Batavia, which I was just excited to be playing and all that kind of stuff. But I had a pretty good showing when we first got drafted, and we were doing post draft workouts and everything like that. And then I get a call the day before the FCL starts, and he's like, "Hey, can't put you in the lineup tomorrow. You're headed up north with this other guy." And I was like, "Perfect. I mean, sounds great. I'll pack my bag and we'll go." And I was just so nervous and so because I didn't know what to expect. I hadn't even played a
Right.
professional game yet, and then I already get called up. So I thought that was a really cool experience.
So yeah, because I understand exactly what you mean when you're saying the memories, the best ones are about people and the connections you make and the activities you do with them. Because, being in the military, when you're doing things every day and you look back on it, it's almost like the things you do don't matter as much as who you're doing it with, the connections you've established, and when you can kind of sit back and realize. Because I've been in the military now for a little over 4 years, and the time's flown by, and it's like, wow, where did the time go? But it's also, I'm grateful for the opportunities I've had, and it's pretty cool because you've seen so many different parts of the country now, you know,
Hmm.
and you've played every level of the minor leagues. You're right on the cusp. You're in AAA. So each different journey, each step is a different chapter for you, and I think that's really, really cool. Um, Obviously, there's going to be another step. I hope. I think you deserve it, for the majors. So, does that ever come across your mind, like getting the call?
Yes, every single day. That's something I think about. I've had a lot of hard conversations this year. I've had a lot of disappointment, a lot of excitement, a lot of different things going on. Like I said, this has been kind of a tough year for me. Not so
Yeah.
much the production part, more just the mental, the lifestyle, everything that has been going on this year. But like I said, I have such an awesome support system. My parents, my family, my wife's family, they're such an awesome support system. And so, if that time comes, when it comes, whether it's with the Marlins, whether it's not with the Marlins, I'm looking forward to that call. And that's every kid's dream. It's it would make 5-year-old Troy happy. That's what it would do, and it would set
Right.
up you know hopefully other connections or good memories or something like that. Just being up there.
I mean, I certainly hope and think you deserve to get the call because even dating back to last year, I know you're not going to say this, you're going to stay humble, but I'll say it because, I followed your career now, and you've deserved a shot based on production alone. All you've done is hit. You have nothing left to prove in the minors, and I've said that for a while now. So hopefully this season you do get a shot. But biggest lessons as we kind of wrap up this episode. What's the biggest lesson, Troy, in your pro career that you've learned? Just dating back 5 years ago till now, what would you kind of tell yourself, 22, 23-year-old Troy?
That's a good question. Good for you. I might have to put that on my podcast. Biggest lesson. I'm going to be kind of cheesy. Failure is not failure. Failure is an opportunity to show others, show yourself what you truly can do. This is a game of failure. You go up to the plate and you're going to fail a majority of the time. If you're lucky, you'll fail 75% of the time when you're at the plate. You're going to make a couple errors, you're going to do different stuff, but that would be the biggest lesson for me, because truly after doing this baseball season, no matter what job I could ever do, potentially excluding the military, we'll exclude the military because that you guys are a special breed, but whatever job I do, it does not matter how hard it is. It will never be as hard as this. And there's always different challenges. There's different challenges wherever you go, whether, like I said, whether you're working a desk job at corporate for, Charles Schwab, whether you're working at Walmart as a, greeter. Every job has its challenges, but this one is so scrutinized. It's so you get publicly humiliated, publicly celebrated. There's so many ups and downs, so many failures, so many successes, that finding out a way mentally and physically to ride in the middle, ride the highs, ride out the lows. Failure is not always failure. Failure is another opportunity. I think that would be the biggest lesson.
I love it. It's so important for everybody, regardless of where they are in life, playing baseball, whatever job you have in life. Failure, it's the ability to adapt. It's the ability to rebound from failure. That, you can't throw all your eggs in one basket and then be devastated if the basket falls. You have to keep going no matter what, never give up. Obviously, it's a daily grind. I think you realize that, but it seems, like you look at the numbers, you look at where you are, you're doing great things, Troy. Got to hit a home run yesterday. We're recording this Wednesday, hit an absolute bomb. So on Twitter, I'm like, there we go. It's that philosophy, right? Hit a home run every time you're up.
Correct. Exactly. I like it.
Good timing. Yeah, but Troy, we're going to wrap it up. I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. It's been a pleasure talking with you, my friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate being here.
All right, let's go fish.